Okay, so get this. We're talking about a man in Australia
Mm.
who lived for over 100 days with a fully artificial heart,
Wow.
and it's made entirely of titanium.
That's that's pretty wild. I mean,
This is insane.
it's not just the material, though, that's
I
groundbreaking.
know.
It's the fact that this device, it's called BiVACOR,
BiVACOR.
completely replaces the heart.
Yeah.
We're talking a total artificial heart replacement.
This isn't like just some assist device or some
Mhm.
sort of patch or anything.
This is the whole thing.
It's the whole heart gone, and we've got a stack of articles
Yeah,
here
wow.
that detail this whole medical breakthrough
Okay.
and what it could mean for the future of heart transplants.
Yeah.
So think of it like this.
Okay.
You're going to get the need-to-know info on this device,
Okay.
why they went with titanium,
All right.
and the potential ripple effects for those waiting on a donor heart.
The implications are huge. Like,
Exactly.
worldwide, there are so many people on donor waiting lists.
Massive.
This is really a huge leap forward.
It is. So let's start with the patient himself.
Okay.
We're talking about a man in his 40s
Okay.
from New South Wales,
All right.
and the articles say he was facing severe heart failure.
Which, unfortunately, a lot of people find themselves in. So it really highlights the need for these kinds of solutions.
It's absolutely. Now, what's wild is that he was only the 6th person globally
Oh, wow.
to receive this device
Okay.
and the first here in Australia.
So really a pioneering procedure.
It really is.
It was performed by a surgeon, Paul Yans, and
Okay.
his team over at St. Vincent's Hospital in Sydney.
St. Vincent's, okay?
Yeah. And they implanted the BiVACOR last November.
Or November. Wow. So the surgery itself took 6 hours.
It did
6
a
hours.
grueling 6 hours.
What were some of the biggest challenges they faced during?
Well, implanting an artificial heart
Yeah.
requires incredible precision.
Yeah.
You have to connect it to the circulatory system seamlessly.
Oh, I see.
You have to make sure there's no leakage and that the blood flow is optimal.
Yeah.
The surgical team also had to very carefully monitor the patient's vital signs throughout the entire procedure,
Right.
because even the slightest fluctuation can have serious consequences.
Yeah. And on top of all of that,
Yeah,
it's brand new tech.
it is, totally.
They're literally paving the way as they go.
Yeah, the learning curve is really steep with any new groundbreaking medical device.
That's true. But here's the incredible part.
Okay.
This man lived with the BiVACOR for over 100 days
Ow.
without any major complications.
That's a world first.
It is.
It's huge to have a patient reach that milestone.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is a testament to the device's effectiveness and the skill of that surgical team.
Absolutely. And it gets better.
How does it?
He received a successful heart transplant just this month.
That's fantastic.
That's incredible.
Such a good outcome for him and a
Wow.
beacon of hope for other people
Yeah.
on that transplant list.
So let's talk about this revolutionary device. BiVACOR was actually invented by a doctor from Queensland,
Oh, wow.
Daniel Timms.
Yeah, Dr. Timms' work is considered really revolutionary in the field of artificial organs.
It is.
And BiVACOR is really unlike any other heart assist device
Right.
because it's designed to be a total replacement for the heart.
Yeah.
So it acts as a bridge until a donor heart becomes available.
I see. And what's fascinating is how it works.
Right.
It's not like those older artificial hearts that sort
Yeah.
of mimicked the beating of a heart.
Yeah, they were pulsatile pumps.
Yeah.
This one isn't.
So explain that to me.
So instead of having separate chambers and valves,
Okay.
BiVACOR has this single rotating part called a rotor.
A rotor. So how does that actually work? How does a spinning rotor pump blood through the entire body?
It's really ingenious, actually.
Okay.
The rotor is magnetically suspended,
Okay.
meaning it floats in a magnetic field
Wow.
without any physical contact.
No way.
That's key.
So there's no friction.
Exactly.
So that's interesting.
Because it minimizes friction and wear and tear.
Right.
Less friction means a longer lifespan for the device
I see.
and potentially fewer complications for the patient.
So no clunky gears
Mm,
or multiple parts wearing down over time.
exactly.
Interesting.
The single moving part design,
Yeah.
it's a game changer in terms of durability.
Yeah.
And as the rotor spins, it propels the blood through the body in this continuous pulsing flow.
Okay.
That pulsing is important because it mimics the natural rhythm of the heart,
I see.
ensuring proper circulation.
That's incredible
It is pretty wild.
that a single spinning part is keeping someone alive and functioning.
Right.
It really is like something out of science fiction.
It really is. It's a testament to how far we've come with biomedical engineering.
Absolutely. Okay, so
Yeah.
we have the super advanced spinning rotor
Mm-hmm.
doing the heavy lifting.
Okay.
But what about the material?
Yeah.
We keep hearing about titanium.
We do.
What's so special about that?
Titanium is kind of the gold standard when it comes to biocompatible materials.
What does that mean?
It means it's highly unlikely to be rejected by the body.
So the body just accepts it as part of itself?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But it's not just about biocompatibility.
Okay.
Titanium is also incredibly strong and corrosion resistant.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it can withstand constant movement and exposure to blood without degrading.
It needs to be tough.
Yeah, it has to be tough.
To be beating nonstop inside the body.
Exactly.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
What about the patient's day-to-day life with this?
Okay.
Was he tethered to a machine this whole time?
Not at all.
Okay.
The BiVACOR is powered by this external controller, which is a portable unit that allowed him to move around freely during the day.
So he could, like, go about his day?
To an extent, yeah.
Wow.
He was able to engage in activities he couldn't do before with his severe heart failure.
I see.
The controller runs on batteries during the day, and then at night he'd plug it into a power source.
That's pretty remarkable.
It is.
To have that kind of freedom while waiting for a transplant.
Yeah, it's life-changing.
It is. It really highlights the potential of this tech to improve patients' quality of life.
Absolutely.
Not just extending it.
Yeah.
So we've got this incredible titanium heart, a groundbreaking surgery, and a patient who lived a relatively normal life for over 100 days.
I mean, it's definitely a watershed moment for artificial heart technology.
It is.
It really opens up a world of possibilities for those facing end-stage heart failure.
It does.
And the success of this case, I think, really gives us a glimpse into a future where donor hearts may not be the only option.
It's mind-blowing.
It is.
Really, that this one case has the potential to change the entire landscape of heart transplantation.
Yeah.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
Let's delve a little bit deeper into BiVACOR's potential.
Okay.
Because this raises a fascinating possibility.
What's that?
Could BiVACOR move beyond just being a temporary bridge to actually becoming a destination therapy?
A permanent solution.
A permanent solution for those who can't receive transplants.
That's where things get really interesting.
Like, that's where things get interesting.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're picking up right where we left off with this story about a man in Australia who lived for over 100 days with a titanium heart.
It's pretty mind-blowing stuff. And yeah, last time we were talking about whether BiVACOR could actually become a permanent solution for some patients.
Right, not just a bridge to a transplant, but the destination itself.
Yeah, destination therapy.
Destination therapy, that's what they call it.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating.
It raises so many questions, though.
It does, it really does. And to fully understand the implications of that, we need to sort of dig a bit deeper into who might benefit most from this kind of technology.
Okay, so let's talk about those who can't receive a traditional transplant.
Okay.
Who are we talking about here?
Well, there are a number of reasons why someone might not be eligible for a donor heart. Age is a big one.
What?
Donor hearts are a precious resource.
I see.
And often there are younger patients who are prioritized.
That makes sense.
So older patients who might not be considered for a traditional transplant, they could potentially benefit from BiVACOR.
So older patients, but it's not just age, right?
No, it's not just age. There are people with other health conditions as well that make traditional transplantation too risky.
Like what?
Certain autoimmune diseases or a history of cancer.
Oh, I see.
These can increase the risk of complications after a transplant.
So for these patients who maybe don't have a lot of other options, BiVACOR could offer them a lifeline.
Yeah, potentially.
Potentially, yeah.
It opens up a whole new avenue.
It's a game changer.
Yeah, it is.
When you think about it.
Big time.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
There's still a lot of challenges.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That need to be addressed, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. We talked before about the lifespan of artificial hearts being a major hurdle.
Yeah.
I mean, donor hearts, they still last significantly longer.
They do.
An average of over 10 years, we said.
Yeah, over 3,000 days.
For a donor heart?
Yeah, think about that.
Compared to what, months with BiVACOR so far?
Yeah, we're talking a huge gap.
It's a big gap to close.
It is.
But what are researchers doing to try to bridge that gap?
It's a major focus of ongoing research.
Yeah.
They're constantly working to improve the materials, the design, the biocompatibility of these devices.
Okay, break that down for me.
All right, so on the materials front, they're exploring new alloys and coatings that are even more durable and resistant to wear and tear.
Right.
They're also refining the design of the rotor and the magnetic levitation system to further reduce that friction and extend the device's lifespan.
So it's all about making the device itself last as long as possible.
Exactly. But it's not just about the hardware. Biocompatibility is crucial.
Right. We talked about that before.
Yeah.
Making sure the body doesn't reject it.
Right. So researchers are looking at ways to actually improve the surface of the device.
Oh, wow.
To make it even more compatible with the blood and the tissue. So they're experimenting with different coatings that can reduce the risk of blood clots and inflammation.
So it's almost like they're trying to trick the body into thinking this artificial heart is a natural part of it.
Kind of, yeah. The goal is to create a device that the body just accepts with minimal risk of complications.
That makes sense, because even with this Australian patient who didn't have any major issues, there's always that underlying concern with any implanted device.
You're right. The risk of infection is always there.
Yeah.
And then there's the issue of blood clots. Even with that smooth surface of the titanium rotor, there's always a possibility that clots can form.
So even though the technology is incredible, there are still risks involved.
That's the reality of any medical intervention.
That's true.
But what's really encouraging is that each new generation of these artificial hearts, it builds on the successes. And learns from the challenges of its predecessors.
So we're seeing constant improvement.
We are.
Both in the technology itself and in how it's implemented.
Precisely. And that steady progress is what gives us hope for the future. Not just for BiVACOR, but for the whole field of artificial organs.
It is fascinating to think about all the possibilities, but it's also a little daunting.
I know what you mean.
We're talking about replacing a vital organ with a machine.
It's true.
This is serious science fiction stuff.
Yeah, it raises some ethical questions, too.
Ooh, that's a whole other can of worms.
It is.
Should we save that for next time?
I think that's a good idea. We've covered a lot of ground already. And I think the ethical implications of artificial organs deserve their own deep dive.
All right, listeners, you heard it here first. Join us for the final part of our BiVACOR deep dive, where we tackle all the ethical considerations
It'll be good.
of this groundbreaking technology.
It will.
See you next time. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been talking about this guy in Australia living for over 100 days with a titanium heart.
It really is remarkable, but as we touched on last time, there's this whole other side to the story.
The ethics of it all.
Exactly. The ethical considerations surrounding artificial organs. It's something we can't just ignore.
No.
Especially as this technology keeps advancing. It really raises some complex questions.
So, where do we even start with this? What are some of the biggest ethical concerns people have about artificial organs?
I think one of the most pressing concerns is the issue of access.
Access, okay.
Imagine a future where these artificial hearts are readily available, potentially extending lives by decades. It sounds incredible.
It does.
But then it raises this question of who gets access to this life-saving technology.
It's like any major medical advancement, right?
Totally.
There's always a concern that it will only be available to the wealthy.
Exactly.
Or those with good insurance.
And we could actually see a situation where this technology, which has the potential to, revolutionize healthcare, actually ends up making those health disparities even worse.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's something we really have to be mindful of.
So what can we do to, ensure that there is equitable access?
It's a huge challenge.
Yeah, it seems like a massive challenge.
But I don't think it's an impossible one.
Okay.
We have to start thinking about policies and frameworks now that prioritize fair allocation of resources.
I see.
So that could involve things like government subsidies, price regulations for these devices, maybe even exploring alternative funding models to make it more accessible.
So it's we need to think about these ethical dilemmas before they even happen.
Exactly. We have to be proactive, not reactive when it comes to these kinds of issues.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And access is just one piece of the puzzle, right?
Well,
there are other ethical considerations that are just as complex.
Okay, give me an example.
Well, think about the decision-making process for actually allocating these devices.
Okay.
With donor hearts, there are very well-established protocols and criteria based on medical urgency and compatibility.
Right.
But with artificial hearts, those criteria might need to be revisited.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, because
how do you decide who gets an artificial heart when you're not as limited by the availability of donor organs?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
It is. Do you prioritize the sickest patients?
Right.
What about those who have the longest potential lifespan if they were given a new heart?
Okay.
Do you consider their quality of life? Things like age,
wow,
occupation, family support.
It's a lot.
It's a moral minefield.
It really is. And it's not just about the medical stuff.
No.
Like you said, there are societal implications.
Absolutely.
Like when resources are limited, who gets priority?
Exactly. And these are things we, like as a society, need to really grapple with.
That's a good point.
We need to have these open and honest conversations about our values, our priorities, and what we consider to be a just and fair allocation of these life-saving technologies.
It's not just about the science then, right?
No.
It's about our humanity.
I think that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
As we get closer to artificial organs becoming more commonplace, we need to keep in mind that these advancements aren't just about extending life. It's about living a good life.
Yeah.
And what defines a good life is, well, that's a huge question.
Yeah, it is.
It's a personal question and a societal question.
It really is. It's a lot to think about.
It is.
I mean, this one story about this guy with a titanium heart.
Yeah.
It's like opening Pandora's box.
It is. But I think it's important to remember that these questions shouldn't scare us away from these amazing advancements.
Okay.
They're really just an invitation to think critically, to have these discussions, to really grapple with these complex issues, and to shape a future where technology is serving humanity in the best possible way.
I think that's a great point to end on.
I agree.
We've covered so much in this deep dive.
Yeah.
I mean, groundbreaking technology, medical marvels, the ethical considerations that come with, pushing the boundaries of what's even possible.
It really has been fascinating, and hopefully our listeners have come away from this with a much deeper understanding of not just the science behind artificial hearts, but the impact they have on individuals and on society as a whole.
And if this deep dive sparked your interest, even a little bit, please go out there and learn more.
Yeah, keep asking questions.
Yeah, the future of healthcare is being shaped right now.
It is.
And it's up to all of us to make sure it's a future we can all be a part of.
Absolutely.
Until next time. This has been The Deep Dive.